What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here with your weekend crypto report, where as always, I do a technical analysis and give you my thoughts on the coins listed up above for the 2 days where our beloved stock markets closed, aka the weekend. Now, I am recording from a mobile setup, so if the sound quality is not the same and the screen is a little bit different, I apologize in advance. Let's jump right into our Bitcoin daily chart here. You can see left-hand corner, D for daily, obviously making a move up here towards the highs after a period of consolidation coming off of these lows from in here. Okay, if I scrunch up the daily chart, you can certainly see we're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from all-time highs. So let's go ahead and mark that in as a critical resistance overhead. I'm not going to cherry pick the top, but I would want to be aware of about 64K here inside of Bitcoin. Let's drill down to the 4-hour now, talk a little bit more nuance here and how these levels, of course, are unfolding. Certainly an uptrend in place. I mean, you can see anchor point down here. We are respecting this support trend line from here. If there are any pullbacks into this weekend, I would start to be on alert for buys at and around the support trend line or this prior breakout point from in the past at and around $57,888 per coin. So that's what I'm seeing as downside support. Obviously, to the upside, we have that all-time high around 64K, and then it's blue sky territories after that. I would really pay attention to whole dollar marks, well, not so much whole dollar marks, but $100 marks, $50 marks, and obviously the 500s and thousands on our way into those blue sky territories. In terms of, buying opportunity, I wouldn't really classify this as a risk-friendly long. Basically, what you're looking at for upside would be into those all-time highs and then expect some sort of pullback, right? So to me, the risk reward doesn't really make sense here. I would kind of wait for, again, either a pullback into the support trend line, prior breakout point, or just some sort of consolidation, whether that's sideways through time or, again, just slowly dribbling higher. Give it some time to cool off. Let there be an obvious stop loss in place per se on some sort of consolidation. Next up, we'll take a look at Litecoin, going back out to the daily time frame just to get a sense of where we're at. Obviously, this coin has exhibited relative weakness, obviously nowhere near the highs from in here, around $400 per coin. Let's take a look at what's going on from a more granular perspective, though. Obviously, in terms of this range, we're trying to poke up and out of the top end. So we'll see if we can get the breakout here. Let's drill down to the 4-hour now, talk a little bit more nuance. And again, support trend line obviously drawn in from an anchor down here, touch one in here. So any pullbacks, ideally, it kind of holds this area actually, okay? So it's not really all about that 188, although that's a strong daily level. Give it a little bit of wiggle room. Technically, you could start to treat this as a zone kind of down here towards that 185 as well. So a $3 zone, if it wants to pull back and start putting in the consolidation here, fine. It's still a set of higher lows, right? If we use that as the major low, big L there, this is your next set of higher lows. And again, this in here could potentially be on any sort of pullback, the next set of higher lows. So that to me would be the potential buy point around 185 here inside of Litecoin. Obviously to the upside, on a firmer breakout of this range, your next target overhead is way up here at 210, coming from that prior touch of support after that, clearly up here at 232. So there is quite a lot of upside potential here inside of Litecoin as opposed to Bitcoin, which is pressing right up into those all-time highs. So it might be something to consider in terms of risk reward. Let's continue on here and get into Ethereum up next, going back out to the daily time frame just to get a sense. And again, not quite at the highs, not quite as strong as Bitcoin. However, you have to remember where we've come from, right? Straight off the lows here, decent period of volatility and consolidation, and back towards its top end of it right in there. So let's take a look a little bit closer from the daily, just get a sense of what we have for resistance and where it's coming from. So a pretty major high here at $4,000 per coin, and you can certainly note by this upper wick that there is substantial pullback going on now. So let's actually drill down to the 4-hour and just see how this is going on. So maybe actually a little bit deceiving there from the daily, because I'm certainly not seeing, in terms of how that candle was printing, that upper wick, right? So to me, a little bit of confusion there from how this data is being presented. However, I would just treat this as a bull flag here on the 4-hour, and maybe this is the breakout, right? To me, it would be all about, okay, now that we are breaking out of the top end of the flag, can we hold on to the lows on any sort of pullback that, of course, is going to be there at 37.44, anything underneath? Obviously, as we've discussed, and very similarly to the other coins, it would be a back test of the larger breakout point. That, of course, is this level here at the 36.50, as well as the support trend line, noting that the anchor is here. Touch number one is right here. Pretty, dominant area of consolidation before this most recent breakout. So that's what I'm thinking about in terms of Ethereum. Again, is it a buy right now? And maybe if you get to it early enough, this could be the start of, again, a 4-hour bull flag breakout. But to me, the more risk-friendly entry would be if we get some sort of consolidation to a more major level, as we discussed, that would be your 36.50. Let's take a look at Cardano now, moving right through the coins here, back out to the daily, just to get a sense here. Clearly not quite at the highs, and this one is the one that was the relative strength sort of king, obviously cooling off now. But what I want to do on this chart specifically is come in from the low of the move with our Fibonacci tools all the way on up to the high, just to get a sense of of where we're at in terms of pullback there. And obviously you can see that this pullback did hold the 61.8. So that to me is a sign of strength. Now it's all about, can we get back above the 38.2? That of course is the yellow line right there. Let's get that off the chart, drill down to the 4-hour, talk a little bit more nuance here. What you'll certainly note is that we're inside of a symmetrical triangle. I certainly did adjust this from last week's. If you'll remember, the support trend line was looking something like this from in the past. Obviously we broke down below that in this video here. So in terms of upside levels, it's all going to be about, right, can we make a new higher high instead of lower high? So over the course of this weekend, I would keep a very close eye on this 2.25 to 225-ish area. If we can take it out, obviously the target is here to this known area of resistance as well as prior support at the 2.322. After that, you can walk up the targets to the other areas from the triangle highs, right? So that would be here at the 2.45, and then after that, this major level at the 2.594. Okay, so that's upside. Certainly if it wants to remain inside the consolidation range here, the triangle, basically just look for a rotation to the bottom end at the 2.13, as well as the support trend line, and, you know, ping pong back and forth. If it does break down, that's where I would start to be a little bit more careful here, noting that this horizontal area could be in play, and there's really a flush underneath that 2.081. Okay, so Cardano, kind of let it do its thing, let it give us a little bit more information before we start getting aggressive in terms of positions. Let's see how this triangle resolves. Hopefully, because of the strength inside of Bitcoin and some of our other coins here, we see it resolve and sort of follow the crypto market higher, and we get into some of those upper targets. Let's get into Doge here, obviously the joke coin, the meme coin of them all. Let's take a closer look from the daily. Obviously no surprises here because it's the joke, because it's the meme. It's, you know, one of the weakest coins out there right now. This isn't something people are investing in. This is more of just a trade. As we know, it's been that way for quite some time. So down to the 4-hour just to see what type of tradable levels we have here. I would say that this one, most interestingly, the support trend line has more than just one touch to it. So to me, that's the thing to be watching here if there's any sort of pullback, obviously. But what you'll notice is that we're pressing up into this area of resistance just shy of a quarter here at the 0.2408. If it does break, I would look out for the quarter as a target, noting that in here it was also prior resistance. So let's throw that on with an official level, and then we will talk in terms of downside risk. So obviously pulling back into the support trend line, looking for a buy, but if it does break, I would make the argument that we go here to the 0.2192, and obviously after that there is quite a void until we get down to 0.1959. Okay, so in terms of Dogecoin, again, treat it as a trade. It's not an investment. This is not something that you look to buy and hold for, you know, the long term. If you're going to do that, go with a more stable coin like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano. Those are kind of the big three right now. And again, Dogecoin, just a trade, just a joke. In terms of our next one, we have Ripple here, of course, and Ripple, as well as the Dogecoin, has a better fit with its support trend line. So anchor touch number 1 as well as 2 in here, and again, pressing into this horizontal area of prior support as well as resistance. Let me scrunch this up so we can see, definitely from in here as well. So if we can break out up and above this, look, there is some solid room to run here to our most recent pivot high around the 1.2422. So I would say that this is actually looking fairly attractive as a potential trade idea here. So again, breakout takes us here, and your risk would just be underneath either the support trend line, or if you want to play it even more conservatively, just a fake break, right? So if we do something like this and come back down underneath that 1.1460, that's your stop, right? So to me, this is setting up as an attractive trade idea. We are in the midst of a new uptrend here. Let's see if we can make an equal high and then potentially higher high after that. If we break down, again, the line in the sand here for me at least would have to be at the 1.09. If that goes, obviously it's much lower, and again, the void does open up to the downside at the 1.0104, okay? Stellar is up next, and this one, not the greatest in terms of pattern here. What I'm noticing, and again, why I say that is just based on this here. Obviously, kind of a fake break of this prior area of resistance. In an ideal world, like scenario number 1, as we always discuss rainbows and butterflies, it would have consolidated here, right, above that prior breakout point and then gone for a move higher. So why is it kind of falling down? Not entirely sure, not entirely convinced that, again, it's the strongest right now. So to me, this is kind of one of those ones, keep on the back burner, maybe a question mark here. If we can get back up above, then fine, just treat this maybe as a little bit deeper of a pullback, and then we make our way higher. But to me, there's better opportunity in other coins that we've covered today in the video. So again, Stellar, not ideal. If we scrunch up the chart a little bit to see where those overhead levels are, note that, you know, they're pretty close, right? So to me, again, just not really looking as much as an attractive trade here in Stellar, and I bet you can kind of hear that in the tone of my voice as I struggle to sort of, you know, come up with things to say about it. So Stellar, just not kind of on my radar for the weekend. Maybe if we put in some sort of pattern that gets us closer to consolidating just underneath this, crucial resistance here, that's where it becomes more interesting, because obviously after that, from the daily perspective here, we can see there is quite a ways to run to our next major levels, which are closer to the 50-cent mark. Okay, so Stellar kind of on the back burner for now, needs to do a little bit more improvement there. The last thing I want to do is take a look at SHIBA, so SHIB, there we go, SH, if I could type, SHIB, there we go, SHIBA INU, and then we want USD. And here we go, we'll go with the Coinbase coin, and just following up with what we covered and talked about in last week's video, let's just immediately drop it down to the 4-hour, and so we can wrap up this video here. So all things considered, obviously a very impressive run from back here, and now consolidating. Oops, that's not what we wanted. We wanted this one, and consolidating kind of into this pennant here. So let's throw on some official levels, and then we'll wrap this thing up here. So watching this resistance trend line mainly to see if we get upside lift, right? So a break here, I would just argue it's this horizontal area at, again, quadruple zeros, 2943. If that clears, obviously your target would be the all-time highs here at, again, quadruple zero, 3544, blue sky territories after that, looking at, basically the round numbers, if you will, of the fractions of this penny. Your downside risk here is if we break down underneath this set of lows, which it looks like, may be in store if we cannot even get into that resistance trend line. So a retest here at the quadruple zero, 2482, you would look for a move lower to about, let's just call it quadruple zero, 2000, okay? So that's your downside risk. And again, it's not like you're trying to short this thing, you're just avoiding longs if it wants to break down underneath this area right here. That's gonna wrap up the crypto analysis for the weekend. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything new today, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our other channel is linked down below in the description these days. We do analysis there of about, a handful of tickers every single day, so definitely check that out. And don't forget that the weekly watch list will come out on Sunday as planned. So again, if you do all that stuff, like buttons, bell buttons, all that good stuff, and I hope to see you in the next one.